ഹലോ എവരിബഡി, നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് നിൽക്കുന്നത് അറ്റ്ലാന്റയിലുള്ള സെൻറ്റർ ഫോർ സിവിൽ ആൻഡ് ഹ്യൂമൻ റൈറ്റ്സ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ സ്ഥലത്താണ്. ഇത് സിവിൽ ആൻഡ് ഹ്യൂമൻ റൈറ്റ്സിൻ്റെ മൊത്തമായിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് ഇവിടെ, അതിനെപ്പറ്റിയുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളാണ് ഇവിടെ കാണിക്കുന്നത്. നമുക്കൊന്ന് പോയി കാണാം. ഈ മ്യൂസിയത്തിൽ ഡോക്ടർ മാർട്ടിൻ ലൂതർ കിങ്ങിൻ്റെയും US സിവിൽ റൈറ്റ്സിൻ്റെ ഹിസ്റ്ററിയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ലോകത്തുള്ള പലയിടത്തുള്ള ഹ്യൂമൻ റൈറ്റ്സിൻ്റെ സ്ട്രഗിളും അതിനെപ്പറ്റിയുള്ള സ്റ്റോറിയുമാണ് കൂടുതലായിട്ടും ഇവിടെ കാണിക്കുന്നത്. ഇവിടുത്തെ ഒരു ഫ്രീഡം റൈഡ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഒരു റൈഡുണ്ട്. അതിൽ അവിടുത്തെ ആ റൈഡിൽ ആ ബസ്സിലുള്ള ആൾക്കാരെ എല്ലാം കത്തിച്ചു കളയുകയും ഏകദേശം 460ഓളം ആൾക്കാരെ അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുകയും ചെയ്യപ്പെടും. അതിനെപ്പറ്റിയുള്ള ഒരു ഡോക്യുമെൻ്ററിയാണ് ഇവിടെ കാണിക്കുന്നത്. ഇപ്പോൾ
boarded 2 buses in Washington, D.C. They called themselves Freedom Riders. Bound for New Orleans, they intended to exercise their constitutional right of equal access to waiting rooms and lunch counters at bus depots throughout the South. Schooled in nonviolent tactics, they faced the uncertainties of their journey with optimism.
There is a possibility we will not be served at some stops. There is a possibility that we might be arrested. This is the only trouble that I anticipate.
An incident at Rock Hill, South Carolina provided a frightening preview of what was to come. 3 of the riders were attacked and beaten as they tried to enter a whites-only waiting room. Sunday, Mother's Day, further violence exploded just outside of Anniston, Alabama.
At Anniston, we were surrounded by mobs. We followed us out of Anniston for about 4 miles until one of our tires went flat. At that point, they started breaking into the windows of the bus with chains and pipes and one thing or another. They finally threw a bomb into the bus.
There was immediate flash fire on the bus. And I tried to open the door. Only thing I could hear is, "Let's burn them niggas. Let's burn them niggas alive." At that moment, fuel tank exploded. And they ran, and that was the only way we could get that door open. A man came up to me, and I'm coughing and strangling. He said, "Boy, you all right?" And I nodded my head, and the next thing I knew, I was on the ground. He had hit me with part of a baseball bat. And this is when I see the highway patrolman. He pulls his gun, and he fired in the air. He says, "Okay, you've had your fun. Let's move back." And that's what stopped it.
Unaware of this attack, the second bus continued on to Birmingham.
Last night, a man phoned me, said he was close to the leaders of the Ku Klux Klan. He said he wanted to give me a tip. Be sure and be at the bus terminal on Sunday, he said, because you're going to see action.
James Peck and I, we were scheduled to test the facilities. So he looked at me and I looked at him, and we proceeded to go into the terminal.
They took them into corridors and alleys and began beating them, began hitting them with lead pipes and with key rings and with their fists. They knocked one man, a white man, down at my feet, and they beat him and kicked him until his face was a bloody red puff. The police did not arrive at this scene until 10 minutes late, when these men had, as if on signal, dispersed and had gone further down the street, where I saw some of them discussing their achievement of the day right under the windows of the police commissioner's office.
Now, I hope that these agitators outside of this state who are seeking to come here will stay at home and mind their own business.
If men like Governor Patterson and Governor Barnett of Mississippi and also Governor Davis of Louisiana, and then people in Tel Aviv and Moscow and London will not pick up their newspaper for breakfast and realize that America is not living into the dream with liberty and justice for all.
The Freedom Riders were marooned in Birmingham after bus drivers refused to transport them any further.
I had very mixed feelings. I learned to be afraid overnight. I was no longer this fearless rider. I was no longer so interested in dying for the cause. I appreciated being alive.
Hurried negotiations between Birmingham officials, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, and his on-the-scene representative John Siegenthaler arranged for the riders to continue to New Orleans by plane. But any thoughts by Kennedy or Birmingham that the Freedom Rides might end was short-lived. 3 days later, a new group of students from colleges in Nashville arrived at Birmingham. After failing to secure bus passage to Montgomery, they were arrested by Police Commissioner Bull Connor and driven back to the Tennessee border late Thursday night. They vowed they would return, and within a day they did. Governor Patterson assured John Siegenthaler that Alabama's Highway Patrol would protect the Freedom Riders, but Governor Patterson's promises soon proved illusory. When the buses arrived in Montgomery, they were met by a mob. Before police could break up the crowd, at least 20 people had been beaten and injured.
One of the riders, a white student, was banged up pretty badly. 2 other students were hurt. And in trying to rescue a white girl member of the group, an aide to Attorney General Robert Kennedy, John Siegenthaler, was knocked out.
The next day, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, and James Farmer, the National Director of CORE, arrived in Montgomery for an evening service honoring the Freedom Riders. Gathered in the First Baptist Church, over 1,500 supporters were soon surrounded by a mob of 3,000 who bombarded the building with rocks and bottles and burned cars. Reverend King was on the telephone with Robert Kennedy, entreating him to take action to protect those in the church. Kennedy was simultaneously urging Governor Patterson to disperse the mob.
In this situation, I want to make this announcement that the city is now under martial law and troops are on the way into
The violence was quelled, and under pressure from Washington, the governors of Alabama and Mississippi both agreed to have state police and the National Guard protect the Freedom Riders. On Wednesday morning, May 24th, state police and National Guardsmen escorted a dozen Freedom Riders from Montgomery to Jackson, Mississippi. Upon arriving in Jackson, the riders attempted to use the white-only facilities and were immediately arrested. Many were sent to Mississippi's infamous Parchman Penitentiary. Refusing bail, the movement called for more volunteers to come to Jackson to be arrested. Over the next 4 months, Freedom Riders came to Jackson by bus, plane, and train. By the end of the summer of 1961, over 430 Freedom Riders from all over the United States had been arrested.
no matter what happens. We're dedicated to this. We'll take shame, we'll take beating. We're willing to accept death. But we're going to keep coming until we can ride from anywhere in the South, any place else in the South.
Manner in which you executed the march from the Washington Memorial. You have already told the world what we are here for and shown them by your courage, determination, and your order that we mean business.
Look like you wonder how we feel. Tell me how we got over. Let's not forget that we are involved in a serious social revolution. How they ran for freedom now.
are God-given and constitutionally guaranteed are not negotiable.
All of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Martin Luther King and Lyndon Johnson.
Well, we heard about the 3 workers who are presently missing in Mississippi.
Nikki, who's the project director, and Jamie, a local staff member, and Andy, who's a volunteer, all went out to one of the rougher rural counties to see about a church that was burned down a few days ago.
They said they'd be back by 4 and now it's coming on 10.
The mood up here is, of course, very strange. But these all must have thought of our 3 who already died this summer in Mississippi. Everyone cried, either inside or out.
There may be more people killed this summer, but that won't deter us from what we are trying to do.
I just can't comprehend why people must die to achieve something so basic and simple as freedom. Dear Mom and Dad, I cannot begin to tell you how it feels to be here.
There's also reportedly chased and fired on a radio-equipped car containing 2 white men.
To say a prayer for our own country.
Standing on the balcony of the second floor hotel room tonight when, according to a companion, a shot was fired from across the street.
Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight.
In Fred's words, the bullet exploded in his face. The shooting all points closing for a well-dressed young white man seen running from the scene.
That's true. But more importantly, to say a prayer for our own country.
When, according to a companion, shot was fired from across the street.
Martin Luther King shot and was killed tonight.
Fred's words, the bullet exploded in his face.
I want to say, I need the word to you this morning. Then if you're around, when I have to meet my day, I don't know. And if you get somebody you can listen to you and you tell them not to talk. Every now and then I wonder what I want to say. Not to mention that I have no better. Like for somebody to say, that day, Martin Luther King Jr. tried to lie to somebody. I want you to say that day that I tried to be right for the wrong. I want you to be able to say that day that I did try to feed the hungry. I want you to be able to get out of this probation. Say I was a fundraiser for justice. was the dream age of the righteousness. And all of the other shallow things will not matter. Won't have any money to leave behind.
മാർട്ടിൻ ലൂതർ കിങ്ങിൻ്റെ ഡെത്ത് സർട്ടിഫിക്കറ്റ് ആണ്.
But I just want to leave a committed life behind. That's all I want to say. If I can help somebody, as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a wild song, if I can show
1966 ഫ്യൂണറൽ ലോഗ് ബുക്ക്.
will not be in vain. If I can do what I do as a Christian, if I can bring salvation to a world once wrong, if I can spread the message as the Master taught, then my living.
മാർട്ടിൻ ലൂതർ കിങ് മരിക്കുന്നതിന് തൊട്ട് മുമ്പ് എടുത്ത പിക്ചറാണത്. മരിച്ചു കിടക്കുന്ന ഓടി കിടക്കുന്നതാണത്. മാപ്പിംഗ് പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ ഫ്രീഡം. പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ ഫ്രീഡമുള്ള കൺട്രീസിൻ്റെ മാപ്പുണ്ട്. യെല്ലോ മീൻസ് ഫ്രീ, ഓറഞ്ച് മീൻസ് പാർട്ട്ലി ഫ്രീ, റെഡ് മീൻസ് നോട്ട് ഫ്രീ. ലോകത്തുള്ള എല്ലാ സ്ഥലങ്ങളുടെയും ഇവിടെ കളർ കൊടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. യുണൈറ്റഡ് സ്റ്റേറ്റ്സിൻ്റെ കളറാണ്, മെക്സിക്കോ, അങ്ങനെ പല, ബ്രസീൽ, അർജന്റീന, പല സ്ഥലങ്ങളിലും ഉണ്ട്. അൾജീരിയ, ലിബിയ, ഈജിപ്റ്റ് എവിടെയൊന്നും ഫ്രീഡമില്ല. ഇന്ത്യ പൊളിറ്റിക്കൽ ഫ്രീഡം ഉണ്ട്. ഓസ്ട്രേലിയ, ഫ്രീഡം റൈഡേഴ്സ്. മണ്ടൽമലി ബസ് ബോയ്ക്കോട്ടിൻ്റെ ന്യൂയോർക്ക് ടൈംസിലെ അന്നത്തെ ന്യൂസ് പേപ്പർ ആണ് കാണുന്നത്. 1955 ഫ്രീഡം റൈഡേഴ്സിൻ്റെ പിക്ചറുകളാണ് ഇതെല്ലാം വെച്ചത്. അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും സെൻറ്റർ ഫോർ സിവിൽ ആൻഡ് ഹ്യൂമൻ റൈറ്റ്സിൻ്റെ വീഡിയോസ് എല്ലാം ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു എന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. ഇതിനു മുമ്പ് പല അല്ലാണ്ടായാലുള്ള പല സീരീസ് വിട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. കൊക്കക്കോളയുടെയും അക്വേറിയത്തിൻ്റെയും ഒക്കെ വീഡിയോസ് ഇട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. കണ്ടിട്ടില്ലെങ്കിൽ പോയി കാണുക. See you next time.